Sorry I was away for a couple of days. I was a little bit sick. I had a fever, and I needed to put my own mind and body and spirit actually first. So I took a couple of days to myself. I already have the 3 cards drawn, so let's just get started into this. The moon. As we've been seeing, sometimes those revelations can be dark, and sometimes it's hard to discern what is real and what is not, and sometimes our fears. The thing is, you have to actually focus on for what it really is. If you have a fear about something, that doesn't mean you gotta hide away from it, that you gotta run. Sometimes you actually do have to face it. Fear is an acronym. Sometimes it does stand for F everything and run, but mostly it is face everything and recover. When you see the Hermit reversed, does that mean we need to isolate? Does that mean we need to hide? No, you can't always hide. The only way that you can really actually face something and recover is by actually taking it as a challenge and seeing it head on for what it truly is. It's an exercise in that humility. What you look at when that point in time in your life, you definitely got to give yourself a chance and also give yourself a break too. The Hermit represents wisdom. The Hermit was a shaman, actually. They didn't live in isolation because they didn't like people. They lived in isolation so they can actually keep themselves pure. They can keep themselves not biased. They can actually keep themselves not in all of that mess, because the Hermit lights the path for many. It is like moths to a flame. You might not think that your light is burning brightly, but it actually is. And the thing you really want to pay attention to is sometimes holding yourself and understanding what your boundaries and your limitations can be. You can't do everything. It's one of those where it has to be a collective. That communication has to be a key. So when you look at the Six of Cups, it talks about finally understanding that for yourself, giving yourself that chance. Also, refilling those cups, because yes, they spilled out for a reason. We let them go. It's one of those emotions that's going to end up becoming some that feel overwhelming, but the thing is, it's not always as overwhelming as you think it is when you can finally pull yourself out, look at it objectively, and really actually understand why we're having a hard time discerning these things. Maybe some things don't need that explanation. Maybe you don't need to always understand it. Maybe it is a situation where maybe it was not even yours to begin with. And that's what we're actually looking at right here. Don't go into all of this with these preconceived notions of what could be, because that's going to make you actually fail because you're not even going to try. But these next couple of days, start just maybe understanding that maybe that removing of the self might actually be the healthiest thing. Sit in those emotions. Let those things finally actually come up. But also realize that some of that stuff that isn't your responsibility, just don't include yourself at all. I know that that's kind of a short and abrupt one, but the thing that we're looking at, sometimes you just need to hear it be very blunt. Sometimes it actually even could hurt our feelings. But it's better that you actually at least know what you're dealing with the truth than sit here and give yourself a bunch of comfortable lies. Now, keys. See how they're all scattered like that? Thing about those emotions that we're looking at is actually a new understanding, a clearer perspective. Things are actually going to fall away all on their own. And so that is why we're looking at everything for what it truly is. Spiritual awakenings, as I like to talk about, can be very brutal. But what we're looking at right now is we're entering a completely new phase right at this point. A lot of people who are already in the spiritual stuff are starting to hunker down for whatever is actually coming our direction. We don't always know what it is, even though we do have the gift of foresight. It might just be in a blur, a moment. It doesn't always necessarily give us the entire description. However, what I look at with all of these keys, especially opening these doors and definitely finally creating this platform, hunkering down and standing your ground and accepting your power for what it truly is. Where we are in our life is really actually seeing this actually all come to fruition. Thing is, we are also seeing times of prophecy being realized. I mean, that's usually always the case, but lately it's been so even more. because more and more people are made aware. The thing now I've understood is it was never my job to wake people up, and I used to think that I had to, but I finally realized that I couldn't force people to see things the way that I saw them. However, one thing that I have seen is once you finally let that aspect go, you let people figure it out for themselves. Trust me, they have a tendency of coming around, and you don't sound so crazy.